A maid's daughter just called a billionaire dad in front of his fiancée. And what happened next destroyed everything. Her name is Mia. She's 5, and she wasn't supposed to be there. But somehow, she walked straight into the private office of Alexander Reed, a man who doesn't smile, doesn't care, and doesn't let anyone get close. Until she looked at him and said one thing no adult ever dared to say: "You look lonely." He should have called security. He should have sent her away. Instead, he tied her shoes and canceled a $1 million meeting. But that wasn't the real problem, because the woman he was about to marry had a secret connected to her mother. Olivia Brooks never planned to bring her daughter to work. Not in a house like this. Not in a mansion that sat quietly above the hills of Bel Air, owned by a man whose name appeared in headlines more often than the weather: Alexander Reed, billionaire real estate mogul, CEO of Reed Global. But daycare had called that morning. Again. Emergency closure. That was the 3rd time this month. And Olivia didn't have the luxury of options anymore. So now, at 7:42 a.m., she stood at the staff entrance, crouched down in front of her daughter, adjusting the straps of her tiny backpack. "Mia, listen to me carefully," she said, her voice soft but urgent. "You stay in the staff lounge. You don't walk around. You don't talk to anyone, especially not upstairs. Okay?" Mia nodded. Too easily. Too confidently. The kind of nod that meant she understood the words, but not the weight behind them. "I'll be right back," Olivia added, brushing a strand of hair from the girl's face. "I just need to grab something from the supply closet." Mia sat on the bench, swinging her legs, her small white sneakers flashing with every kick. "Okay, Mommy." Olivia hesitated. Something about the way Mia smiled, bright, fearless, completely unbothered, made her stomach tighten. But she didn't have time. She turned, walked down the hallway. 3 minutes. That's all it took. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. When Olivia came back, the bench was empty. At first, her brain refused to process it. She just stood there, staring. The backpack still sat neatly beside the bench, a juice box untouched, which meant Mia hadn't gone far for food, which meant she wandered. Olivia's heart dropped. "Mia," she called, low at first. "Careful." "Mia." Nothing. Just the faint hum of the building's central air system. She moved fast. Staff lounge, empty. Laundry room, empty. Kitchen corridor, no sign. "Mia," she whispered louder now, panic creeping into her throat. "You can't scream. Not here. Not in a house where one complaint could cost you your job. And this job was everything." Olivia grabbed a cleaning cart and pushed it toward the main corridor, trying to look normal, trying to breathe, trying not to imagine every possible worst-case scenario at once. 5 minutes. 7 minutes. 10. Then she saw it. A small white sneaker, sitting alone on the polished marble floor, right outside a pair of double doors that were never, ever supposed to be open. Her stomach dropped. She didn't need to read the nameplate, but she did anyway. Alexander Reed, private office. Olivia raised her hand to knock, and froze, because from inside, she heard Mia's voice. Soft, calm, talking. "And you have to listen when people talk," Mia was saying, "because that's how you know if they're sad." Olivia didn't knock. She pushed the door open. Inside, sunlight spilled across a massive office. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A desk that looked like it belonged in a museum. And behind it, Alexander Reed. Except he wasn't behind the desk. He was kneeling, on the floor, in front of her daughter. Mia stood there, holding her sneaker out in both hands like she was offering him something sacred. And Alexander Reed, one of the most powerful men in America, was tying her shoe. Slowly, carefully, like nothing else in the world mattered. Olivia stopped breathing. Olivia couldn't move. Her hand still hovered near the door, frozen in midair, like her body hadn't caught up to what her eyes were seeing. Alexander Reed, CEO of Reed Global, a man who closed billion-dollar deals without blinking, was kneeling on the floor, tying a child's shoe. Not just tying it. He was doing it carefully. Double knot. Precise. Intentional. Like he had done it 100 times before. But Olivia knew that couldn't be true, because everything about Alexander Reed screamed control, distance, calculation. Not this. Not gentleness. "There," he said quietly, finishing the knot. "Now it won't come off again." Mia looked down at her shoe, then back at him with complete satisfaction. "You did it better than Mommy," she declared. Olivia finally stepped forward. "I am so sorry." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. She wasn't supposed to be up here. I only left her for a few minutes. Why did you leave one shoe outside? Alexander interrupted, not even looking at Olivia yet. Mia answered immediately. It was heavy. He nodded like that made perfect sense. Both shoes are heavy, she added seriously. I'm small. Something shifted in his expression, so subtle Olivia almost missed it. He stood slowly. Only then did he look at her. Really look at her. Olivia felt it instantly. That gaze. Sharp. Assessing. Not unkind, but not soft either. It was the look of a man used to understanding everything in a room within seconds. Including her. Including the fact that she didn't belong here. I'm Olivia Brooks, she said quickly. Housekeeping. This won't happen again. She came in here alone, he asked. Yes. And she found me. Mia nodded proudly. You looked lonely. Silence. A long one. Olivia closed her eyes briefly. Of course she said that. Of course. But Alexander Reed didn't react the way she expected. He didn't get offended. Didn't dismiss it. Didn't laugh. He just absorbed it. Most people don't say that to me, he said after a moment. Mia shrugged. They should. And just like that, the power dynamic in the room shifted. Not dramatically. Not loudly. But enough. Olivia stepped forward, reaching for her daughter. Come on, Mia. We need to go. No. The word came from Alexander. Low. Immediate. Controlled. Olivia froze. Her hand stopped inches from Mia's shoulder. She's calm, he said. You don't need to rush. I do. Olivia replied quickly. I shouldn't have brought her here at all. Why did you? She hesitated. Then told the truth. Because I didn't have a choice. Another silence. Different this time. Alexander glanced at Mia again. Then back at Olivia. You have 10 minutes before your shift starts upstairs, he said. Olivia blinked. Yes. She can stay here. What? I have a meeting in 11 minutes, he continued calmly. She won't interrupt anything. I can't just leave her with you. You already did. That landed. Hard. Mia looked between them like she was watching a tennis match, then climbed onto the chair across from his desk like she had done it before. I'll stay, she announced. Olivia exhaled slowly. This was insane. This entire situation made no sense. But for some reason, she wasn't afraid. And that scared her more than anything. I'll be back in 10 minutes, she said finally. Mia nodded. Alexander didn't say anything. He just turned back to his desk. Like this moment, was already over. But as Olivia stepped out of the room, she had one thought she couldn't shake. Why did it feel like something had just begun? Olivia didn't go far. She told herself she would. She even walked halfway down the hallway before stopping completely. Her hand tightened around the cleaning cloth she hadn't realized she was still holding. 10 minutes. He said 10 minutes. But every instinct in her body screamed that she had just made a mistake. A huge one. Alexander Reed wasn't just her employer. He was the kind of man people wrote articles about, analyzed, speculated, feared. And she had just left her daughter alone with him. Olivia turned, walked back, quietly, carefully, stopping just outside the door of his office. It was still slightly open. She didn't mean to listen. She really didn't. But then she heard Mia's voice. So if you don't have anyone, you can borrow mine, Mia was saying. Olivia frowned. Borrow what? My mom, Mia clarified. A lot, Mia added more quietly. But she's nice. Something in that sentence shifted the air. Olivia felt it from outside the room. Does she? Alexander asked. Yes. Silence again. Longer this time. Olivia leaned slightly closer to the door, just enough to see inside. Mia had moved. She was no longer sitting in the chair. She had climbed onto the edge of Alexander's desk, sitting there like she belonged, like she had always belonged. And Alexander wasn't stopping her. He was watching her, carefully, not with amusement, not with irritation, but with something Olivia couldn't quite name. Curiosity. Maybe. Do you always walk into rooms you're not supposed to be in? He asked. Yes. Why? Because something interesting might be inside. That made him almost smile. Olivia saw it. Just barely. A shift at the corner of his mouth. Gone as quickly as it appeared. I see, he said. Mia leaned forward, studying him. You don't smile a lot. No, you should. Why? Because your face looks nicer when you do. That time, he didn't hide it. A small smile. Real. Unexpected. And that's when Olivia understood something that made her chest tighten. Her daughter wasn't just talking to him. She was reaching him, in a way no one else in that house probably ever had. Olivia stepped back from the door. Heart racing. 10 minutes. She could wait 10 minutes. But deep down, she already knew. This wasn't going to end in 10 minutes. Olivia came back exactly 10 minutes later. Not a second early. Not a second late. She stood outside the door for a moment, steadying her breath before knocking lightly. Come in. His voice was calm, controlled, like nothing unusual had happened in that room. But the moment she stepped inside, she stopped. Completely. Mia was asleep. Not in the chair. Not on the floor. But on him. Curled up against Alexander Reed's chest, her tiny hand gripping his shirt like she was afraid he might disappear. Her small white sneakers, perfectly tied, rested against the edge of his desk. And Alexander wasn't moving. Not even slightly. One arm rested behind her back, holding her securely. The other lay still on the armrest. Careful. Deliberate. Like even the smallest movement might wake her. Olivia's breath caught. I'm so sorry, she whispered, stepping forward quickly. I'll take her, don't. The word was quiet, but absolute. Olivia froze mid-step, her hands hovering in the air, unsure. She just fell asleep, he said, his voice lower now. Moving her will wake her. Silence settled between them. Olivia looked at her daughter. Peaceful, comfortable, safe, too safe. She doesn't usually fall asleep like that, Olivia said softly. Not with strangers. Alexander's gaze stayed on Mia. She doesn't think I'm a stranger. That made Olivia pause. There was no arrogance in his tone. No assumption. Just a simple observation. She trusts you, Olivia admitted. He nodded slightly. Children don't pretend, he said. They respond. The words lingered. Heavier than expected. Olivia slowly sat down across from him. She didn't even remember deciding to. And for the first time, they weren't employer and employee. They were just two people, sitting in silence, watching over the same child. Minutes passed. Neither of them spoke. Sunlight poured through the glass walls, filling the room with a quiet warmth. And Olivia realized something that unsettled her more than anything else. She had never seen him like this. Not powerful, not distant, not untouchable, just still. You have a meeting, she said gently. I canceled it. Olivia looked up, startled. That was $1 million meeting, she said. Alexander finally looked at her. It can wait. For her, she asked. His answer came without hesitation. For this moment. And just like that, something inside Olivia shifted. Things didn't change overnight, but they weren't the same anymore. The next morning, Olivia was working in the West Corridor, kneeling as she wiped down the baseboards. Routine. Familiar. Safe. Until she heard his voice. You didn't bring her today. Olivia looked up. Alexander Reed stood at the far end of the hallway, coffee in hand, watching her. No, she said. She's with a neighbor. He nodded. But he didn't leave. Instead, he walked over and sat down by the window, opened his newspaper, and stayed. Olivia blinked. Confused. He had no reason to be there. No meeting. No call. No urgency. Yet he stayed. And somehow, that silence between them didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt intentional. 20 minutes passed. No conversation. Just the quiet sound of cleaning and pages turning. Then heels. Sharp. Measured. Unmistakable. Olivia looked up, and her entire body went still. Victoria Kane. Perfect as always. Tailored white coat. Expensive heels. Hair pulled back flawlessly. And her eyes, locked onto Olivia immediately. Recognition hit instantly. For a split second, Victoria's expression flickered. Surprise. Calculation. Then, a flawless smile. Olivia Brooks, she said smoothly. Olivia stood slowly, her grip tightening around the cleaning cloth. Victoria. Alexander folded his newspaper. His gaze moved between them. You know each other? Victoria laughed softly. Oh, we go way back. Olivia didn't respond. Because that wasn't true. They didn't go way back. They built something together. A company. A future. A life. Until Victoria took all of it. I didn't know you worked here, Victoria added, stepping closer. Now you do, Olivia said. Calm. Controlled. But her heart was pounding. Alexander watched carefully. He didn't interrupt. Didn't question. But something in his expression changed. He wasn't just observing anymore. He was connecting the pieces. And Olivia knew, once a man like Alexander Reed starts asking questions, the truth doesn't stay hidden for long. Alexander Reed didn't ask questions right away. That wasn't his style. He observed first, collected pieces, waited until the truth revealed itself. But something about the way Olivia and Victoria looked at each other, that wasn't subtle. That wasn't professional. That was history. Later that afternoon, Alexander stood in his office, staring at a file he hadn't opened. Instead, he pressed a button on his desk. Kyle. His assistant's voice came through instantly. Yes, Mr. Reed. I need everything on Olivia Brooks. A pause. Everything. Everything. By 6:30 p.m., the file was on his desk. Thick, detailed, and unexpected. Alexander flipped through it slowly. Education, top tier. Finance and design background. Former co-founder of a startup in San Francisco. Funded. Rapid growth. Then, collapse. 2 years ago. He frowned. That didn't align with what he had seen. Olivia Brooks wasn't someone who failed easily. He kept reading. And then, he saw the name. Victoria Kane. Not just connected. Listed as co-founder. Equal partner. Alexander leaned back in his chair. Now it made sense. Except, it didn't. Because the company had continued after the collapse. Under Victoria. Rebranded. Expanded. Now worth hundreds of millions. Which meant, it hadn't collapsed. It had been taken. The next morning, Alexander found Olivia in the West Corridor. Alone. Polishing the baseboards. You built something, he said. No greeting. No warning. Olivia froze. Slowly stood. Turned. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. Alexander stepped closer. Not aggressive, but direct. You co-founded Kane Design Group. Her breath caught. Just for a second. But he saw it. That company didn't fail, he continued. It was transferred. Ownership changed. Funding stayed. Silence. Victoria didn't start it, he said quietly. You did. Olivia laughed. Soft. Sharp. Is this where you tell me you admire my resilience? She asked. Or that life isn't fair? No, he said. He stepped even closer now. Close enough that she couldn't look away. I want to know what she did to you. That broke something. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But enough. Olivia looked at him. Really looked at him. Searching. Measuring. You don't want that story, she said. I do. Another pause. Longer. He didn't push. Didn't rush. And somehow, that made it worse. She paid him, Olivia said finally. Alexander's jaw tightened. Who? My boyfriend. The words felt like glass. To leave me, she continued. To create a mess big enough that I would step away from the company. Emotionally. Legally. Completely. Alexander didn't interrupt. I thought I lost everything because I wasn't good enough, she said, voice steady but hollow. Because I trusted the wrong person. She looked at him. Eyes clear. No tears. But I didn't lose it, she added. It was taken. Silence filled the hallway. For a long moment, Alexander said nothing. But something in his expression changed. Completely. Not curiosity. Not interest. Something colder. Sharper. Controlled anger. She's in this house, he said. Yes. She's planning to marry me. Olivia didn't answer. She didn't need to. Because they both understood what that meant. Alexander Reed didn't repeat mistakes. And he didn't forgive betrayal. The dinner was supposed to be perfect. That's what Victoria had planned. 8 guests. Private dining room. Custom menu. Wine selected weeks in advance. Everything curated. Everything controlled. Because tonight, she wasn't just a guest. She was the future Mrs. Alexander Reed. At least, that's what everyone believed. Olivia wasn't supposed to be anywhere near that room. She was assigned to the West Wing. Cleaning. Invisible. Mia was in the garden. Safe. Contained. Or at least, that's what Olivia thought. At 7:42 p.m., the first course was served. Laughter filled the room. Polished. Measured. Victoria sat to Alexander's right. Elegant. Composed. She reached for her glass. Smiled. Played her role perfectly. And then, the doors opened. Not dramatically. Not loudly. Just enough. And a small voice cut through the room. I made something. 8 adults turned at once. Mia stood at the end of the table. Yellow dress. White sneakers. Hair slightly messy from running. Holding a piece of paper in both hands. Olivia's heart dropped. She rushed forward, but stopped. Because Alexander hadn't moved. He was watching. Mia, Olivia whispered. Come here. No, Mia said. Calm. Certain. I have to say it. The room went completely still. Victoria stood. This is inappropriate. Sit down. Alexander's voice. Low. Final. Victoria froze. Mia walked forward. Placed the paper on the table. Right in front of Alexander. It's a drawing, she said. He looked down. 3 figures. One tall, one medium, one small. This is you, Mia said, pointing. And this is Mommy. And this is me. Silence. We're a family, she said. A ripple moved through the room. Victoria laughed. Sharp. Dismissive. This is ridiculous, she said. She's a child. Mia turned. Looked at her. I know, she said. But I'm right. That shifted everything. Alexander stood. Slowly. Picked up the drawing. Looked at it. Then looked at Victoria. I know what you did, he said. The room froze. Victoria didn't move. I know about the company, he continued. The funding. The transfer. The boyfriend you paid. A glass shattered somewhere behind them. Victoria's face changed. For the first time. Not perfect. You don't understand, she started. I understand exactly, he said. His voice didn't rise. Didn't shake. Which made it worse. You built your success on something that wasn't yours, he said. And you brought it into my life. Silence. Heavy. Final. This dinner is over. Victoria stared at him. Then at Olivia. And for a moment, something real surfaced. Not guilt. Not regret. Something closer to rage. You think this changes anything? She said quietly. Alexander didn't hesitate. Yes. One word. And just like that, everything she built started to fall apart. No one spoke after Victoria left. The sound of her heels echoed down the hallway. Sharp, fading, final. The dining room remained frozen. 8 guests. Half-finished wine glasses. A perfect evening, shattered in less than 60 seconds. Alexander Reed was still standing at the head of the table, Mia's drawing in his hand. He didn't look at the guests. Didn't apologize. Didn't explain. Because he didn't need to. Dinner will continue, he said calmly. You're free to stay. No one moved. Not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't know how. Power had shifted in the room. Completely. Alexander turned. Walked past the table. Straight toward Olivia. She hadn't moved. Still standing near the door. Still holding onto the cleaning cart, like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Mia stood between them. Looking up. Waiting. I didn't know, Olivia said quietly. Alexander stopped in front of her. Close. Not too close. But close enough that she felt it. I know, he replied. 2 words. Simple. But they carried something heavier than everything else said that night. I should have told you sooner, she added. You weren't obligated to. That made her look at him. Because that wasn't what she expected. I brought chaos into your house, she said. Your business. Your life. Alexander exhaled slowly. No, he said. You brought the truth. Silence. Mia looked between them, then tugged lightly on his sleeve. Are you still lonely? She asked. The question landed softly, but it hit harder than anything else. Alexander looked down at her. Really looked. For the first time, he didn't answer immediately. Because for the first time, the answer wasn't simple. I was, he said finally. Mia nodded. Like that confirmed something she already knew. Not anymore, she decided. Olivia let out a small breath. Almost a laugh. Almost a cry. Alexander's gaze lifted back to Olivia. There was no distance in it now. No calculation. No restraint. Just clarity. I meant what I said, he told her. Her heart skipped. What did you say? She asked, even though she remembered every word. That I want you to stay. The room behind them blurred. The noise faded. It was just the 2 of them. And the weight of everything that led to this moment. Not a staff, he added. Olivia shook her head slightly. You don't even know me, she said. I know enough. That's not how this works. Alexander tilted his head slightly. Then tell me how it works. She hesitated. Because the truth was, she didn't know anymore. Everything she thought she understood about people, trust, love, had been broken once. And now, standing in front of him, she wasn't sure she was ready to risk it again. I need time, she said. Alexander nodded. Not impatient. Not frustrated. Just certain. I know. And somehow, that was exactly the answer she needed. 2 weeks passed. Not everything changed overnight. Because real things don't. Olivia kept working. Same uniform. Same schedule. Same routines. But nothing felt the same. Because now, she was seen. Not just by him, but by everyone. And that changed everything. Mia made sure of that. She visited the garden more often. Talked to the staff. Waved at Alexander through the windows. And every time, he waved back. Small things. But they added up. Until one evening, everything shifted again. Staff dinner. East kitchen. Warm lights. Laughter. Olivia almost said no. But Mia had already said yes. So they came. And just like last time, Mia didn't ask where to sit. She walked straight to the end of the table and climbed onto the chair next to Alexander. Like it was hers. He didn't stop her. He cut her food without being asked. Listened while she talked. Answered when she repeated herself. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Olivia watched from across the table. Heart tight. Not from fear. From something else. Something quieter. Deeper. After dinner, in the hallway, Alexander stopped her. She's good, he said. Olivia smiled softly. She is. A pause. So are you. The words were simple, but they landed differently. I'm a housekeeper, she said. You're Olivia Brooks. He held her gaze. Steady. Unwavering. The rest is temporary. Her breath caught. You looked me up, she said. Yes. That wasn't your story to read. No, he admitted. A beat. But it's one I want to understand. Silence. Not uncomfortable. Not tense. Just honest. And then, a small voice from behind them. I solved it. They both turned. Mia stood there. Hands on her hips. Proud. Solved what? Olivia asked. Mia walked forward. Placed one hand on Alexander's arm. One on Olivia's. Then, pushed them closer together. You, she said. Olivia blinked. Mia, you're both slow, Mia continued. So I helped. Alexander let out a quiet breath. Something close to a laugh. You helped, he repeated. Yes. She looked up at him. Serious again. You said I belong here. I did. And Mommy belongs with me. Alexander nodded. That's true. Mia crossed her arms. Satisfied. Then you belong with us. Silence. Not awkward. Not forced. Just real. Olivia's hands were shaking. She looked down at them. Didn't hide it. They're shaking, she whispered. Alexander stepped closer. I know. He reached out. Covered her hands with his. Warm. Steady. They can. Her eyes lifted to his. And this time, she didn't look away. Mia looked at both of them. Then nodded. Like a deal had just been closed. Good, she said. A pause. Then, with complete seriousness, now we need a fish. And just like that, the future didn't feel uncertain anymore. It felt possible. This story left me with a quiet but deep emotion, not because of dramatic twists, but because of the way the characters connected with one another through a rare kind of sincerity in modern life. What made me reflect the most was not wealth or power, but the moment a small child could see the loneliness that adults always try to hide. In life, we are often too busy appearing strong, successful, and in control that we forget to listen to our true emotions and the feelings of others. And sometimes, it is the simplicity, purity, and unconditional nature of a child that can break through all those layers. I realize that trust does not come from logic, but from feeling. A child does not judge status, does not care about the past, and is not influenced by prejudice. They simply recognize when someone needs care. This made me question whether, in everyday life, we are too quick to judge others instead of truly feeling who they are. The story also reminds us that kindness, even in the smallest form, can create powerful change. A simple act like tying a shoelace, or a decision like canceling an important meeting, is not just an action, it is a choice to put people above everything else. The biggest lesson I take away is this: we do not need to be perfect to deserve happiness, but we do need the courage to open our hearts and accept connection. Sometimes, life does not change through grand plans, but through small, real moments when we choose to stay, to listen, and not turn away from emotion. And when applying this to real life, perhaps the most important thing is learning to see others with empathy rather than judgment, because everyone carries a story we cannot see. This story is not about love in the usual sense, but about healing, about how a person can change when they are seen, understood, and trusted. And that is something that can truly happen in real life, if we allow ourselves to slow down and connect more deeply with the people around us. This story is created for educational purposes only, aiming to deliver positive messages and meaningful human values to the audience. From my personal perspective as the creator, I believe kindness holds more power than we often realize. I believe that sometimes the strongest person is the one who dares to show vulnerability. I feel that a child can teach adults more than we expect. I believe trust cannot be forced, but it can be nurtured through sincerity. I believe everyone deserves a second chance in life. I realize that silence can carry more emotion than words. I believe we should learn to listen more instead of reacting immediately. I feel that the smallest moments in life are what create the greatest meaning. I believe that when we choose to love, we also choose to change ourselves. And I believe life becomes better when we offer each other a little more understanding. This story contains some creative elements and the use of AI technology, intended to provide engaging entertainment and deliver meaningful, inspiring lessons to the audience. Disclaimer: the content in this video is for reference and inspirational purposes only. It does not represent any real individuals or events. Viewers should interpret the information selectively and in a way that best fits their personal circumstances. Top of form, bottom of form.